Is being a physical therapist still your purpose? That is a question that you are very likely asking yourself because you have a feeling inside that there is more out here for you in this world. You are feeling that there's more potential, more creativity that you're just not using. And you're wondering now, is being a physical therapist going to be the route for you to feel fulfilled and to feel purposeful? It's a really common question that a lot of us clinicians start asking, but I also believe it's a scary question to ask because there's so much time investment, money investment, and effort into getting our clinical degree that we actually can't imagine doing something else or what that something else even looks like. And I think when we all got into our career field, it was like an end all be all for many of us. It was, I'm going to go to school, I'm going to get this degree, I'm going to help a lot of people, and I'm going to retire, and that's just going to be it. And once we start into the workforce and we look around and we're like, this isn't quite matching what I thought my life was going to be like, we really start asking ourselves some serious questions. And if you're like me, it didn't take you very long to probably recognize that there was something a little bit off between you and this career field. I was a burnt out physical therapist just 1 year into my career. I literally woke up one day and I said, this cannot be my life. And one of the things that I had noticed leading up to that moment is I was feeling stifled and pressured within the 9 to 5 life. And what I mean by pressure was I wasn't really thriving there. There were parts of me that I feel like I couldn't bring or infuse into the clinic just because there wasn't enough time, or I was double booked, patients running late, other, practitioners around that were looking at me like, well, why are you doing that? Or, why are you having conversations like that? And here's what's funny. The conversations I was having with my patients were always fun and lively and joyful. And I cared about their whole self, not just the knee or the shoulder that they were coming to me for. But here I was being questioned by other practitioners that I'm doing too much with my patients. And that was really when I started to feel like this just isn't it. But growing up, there was two things I knew about being an adult. One, I was going to help a lot of people. And two, the feeling that I was going to have when I was helping those people. And I honestly believe that that's what God planted in me as a kid. When I decided to become a physical therapist, that decision was not made with my own compass. That decision was made through my mom, who had a stroke when she was 29 years old. And I was 5 years old. I grew up saying, I'm going to be just like Tammy, which was my mom's physical therapist. And I didn't know what a physical therapist was. I just knew that I enjoyed going to exercise class with my mom and watching her get better, going from being in a wheelchair to, using a cane and having a brace on her foot, and then being able to walk and talk just like you and I. Yes, there's some deficits, but she basically maximized her function. And I thought, that's so cool. I want to do that. And when I actually became a physical therapist, I didn't have that feeling that God planted inside of me when I was growing up. And that's when I knew that something was off. And the entire year up until that moment, that day when I woke up and said, this cannot be my life, I was complaining. I started to be an unhappy person. And I'm a pretty lively person. I am bubbly. I got a lot of spirit. I got a lot of heart. And I know you're just the exact same way. And so when you're in this environment where you feel like you can't just be you and be yourself and truly feel fulfilled by helping the people, then we start really dampening our spirit. And I think that is when we start searching for other options and we start feeling like, well, what else is there? This is when people start Googling, what is a side hustle? How do I start an online business? Trying to find other avenues of making money. And the money is awesome, but I also know it is about, is this my purpose? And wanting to fulfill on how you're going to serve the planet and what you're going to be doing to just not just make the money, but make you feel good at what you're doing as well. And so if you're asking yourself that question, it's totally okay. I want to let you off the hook for that. But what I want to say to you is if this is what you are questioning right now, I want you to take a look at the trajectory of your life. One of the first questions you want to ask yourself is whose compass did you use in order to make the decision to become a physical therapist or occupational therapist or what other healthcare practitioner you might be watching this? Whose compass did you use? My mom wanted me to be a physical therapist because I grew up saying that, but I grew up saying that because she used to tell me, you should be a physical therapist. It's a stable job, it's a safe job. And both of my parents immigrated here from Trinidad to give my brother and I a better life. And so when you come to the United States, it's all about education. It's all about making sure that your child does better than you and you go through an educational system to get a good job. Well, that's the path that I followed. But that's the path that society gave to my parents. So then my parents, my mom really gave that to me. My dad is around, my parents are together, but my dad really did not have a say in that. My dad is like, whatever you decide to do with your life, I am for it and I am on board. But my mom really wanted me to have safety and stability. But honestly, I had anything but that when I became a physical therapist and was like, this just isn't it. It's not lining up with how I feel inside. And this is likely where people go on a healing journey, a spiritual journey, and you start walking with God differently because you're really starting to see there's more out here and almost like you're feeling trapped inside of this world, this 9 to 5 job. And you start seeing other people creating success online and you might be looking at them thinking, how can they do that? I want to do that too. But then you compare yourself and say, well, I'm not as outgoing, I'm not as this or that or whatever. And that's just you assigning a level of difficulty to something that you just haven't yet tried. But there was at one point you couldn't tie your shoe, you couldn't walk, you couldn't feed yourself, couldn't bring a fork to your mouth, you couldn't drive, you couldn't do any of those things. So let that just be an indicator to you that you're capable of doing anything. There was at one point where you probably thought, gosh, am I even going to make it through getting my doctorate degree, right? But we're all here. We have done it. So we've already proven to ourselves that we can do hard things. And this is just the next thing. And I think it's difficult when we're asking ourselves this question and we had this end goal in mind of we would just be a physical therapist. So to imagine or envision something new can be a bit challenging. So that's the first question to ask is look at how you made the decision to be a clinician in the first place. Was it your compass or was it someone else's compass? The next thing that you want to do as you're making this decision on is this your purpose is to actually look at the intersection between your knowledge, your skills, your life experience, your passion, and your spiritual gifts. That intersection of all of those things, you will find a common theme. And that common theme is often how God has been pulling you back to or allowing you to see these different components of yourself and, what your purpose is through various walks of your life. I have found myself to be in this coaching arena or this coaching space basically my entire life. I was a competitive figure skater, so I grew up being coached. I also became the captain of the dance team when I was an undergrad. And I was coaching other people. When I became a physical therapist, I would coach my patients. I was always in this coaching arena. My second business was in network marketing, and I built a really beautiful team. And I was coaching my team on social media and how to make more money. And, as I was getting coached, right? It was always this top-down approach. And now here I am, coaching all of you on this next journey. So coaching has kind of followed me. And when I think back to my life, there was always that coaching thread. So when you start taking a look at your knowledge and skills, life experience, your passions, and your spiritual gifts, look for that common thread and really start to see what that theme is. And I'm telling you that God has honestly already planted it in you. It's just a matter of, are we aware of what that is? And are we not only aware, but are we willing to take steps in that direction? And that's the third thing you want to do is you want to decide to take steps in that direction of what he has already guided. We often want to see the entire roadmap, like how we're going to get from A to Z. We want to see the entire roadmap before we take an action. But it doesn't work like that when we are developing ourselves and discovering our purpose, we've got to also be able to take action so that we can get clear. And I know it's scary. I know it feels like, how can I take a step? What if it doesn't work out? It always works out. Everything has always worked out. I was a figure skater, as I said, and a quote that I've always lived by was by another figure skater, Scott Hamilton. He said, everything is always okay in the end. If it's not okay, then it's not the end. And God gave us the life that he wants for us already inside. Part of our journey here is the development of ourselves into that purpose. And so you already have it. I guarantee you, you already have that desire. But oftentimes, when we are in a space of thinking you don't know what that is, or you're thinking, I need to have the whole picture clear before I get started, it's really just because we're afraid that we might lose everything that we have, or that we have to let go of our current life in order to have our new life. And yeah, some of that is true. There's things to let go of, but in no way, shape, or form are you quitting your job tomorrow, or are you completely like flipping the table and just in a brand new life in the next day. It doesn't work like that. You also have to develop yourself into this new purpose. You also have to start making different kinds of decisions from a different standard. The way that we chose our career path very likely was not necessarily our own standard. And if you did choose this career path because of a personal decision, let's say you had physical therapy or occupational therapy, and you were like, ooh, I really like this field. I can see myself doing that. And you chose. There's nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't mean that it is your ultimate purpose. It could also mean that this is just the vehicle that was helping you to develop yourself for the next thing. And that's honestly how I see this career for me. This career led me into the coaching world because I'm always coaching. I've always been coaching, and I've always been on this spiritual development, personal development journey that has brought me here, but through that has been coaching. And so it's fallen into my lap, if you will. And when I really look at my life story, I've been guided here. So you've likely been guided to where you are right now and where you're going. And so don't take a look at where you are right now and thinking like it all has to be different. Yes, elements of your life in its reality will change, but it doesn't mean that it has to change in a way that you are going to feel like you've lost it all. Because the truth is that there's so much more to gain, and we're never actually losing anything. It's just the feeling that we have inside as if we're losing something, but ultimately we are gaining. What we are losing though is our limiting beliefs. We're losing lower standards. We're losing lesser boundaries, but we are gaining higher standard. We are gaining a new self-concept. We are developing higher amounts of belief within ourselves and our capabilities and what we're able to do in this life. And so see where you are as a stepping stone. And a couple things you can do is, one, reimagine what being a physical therapist looks like. If you want to step into the online coaching world, if you want to step into creating products online where you might show people how to exercise, you might show people how to improve their lifestyle habits, you might show people how to decrease stress and live a more calmer, a more pain-free life, and you do that through meditation, or you do that through a yoga practice that you have. It doesn't all have to be being a clinician or being a physical therapist. There are different avenues of yourself that you have developed. And so you get to reimagine what that looks like and have your online business serve the people that are looking for those things. The other thing is, you might just decide that being a clinician isn't for you at all, and you want to do something completely different, and that's totally fine too. I'm somebody right now who is not doing anything that is clinician based inside of my business. That hat never comes off. I feel as though I was diagnosing in the clinic, and now I'm diagnosing what the roadblocks are inside of my client's mind, but also diagnosing the hiccups in their business. And so It just looks different. But the principles and the strategies that I have used in my 9 to 5 job, in my first 2 businesses, are all the things I use now. I just use them in a different way. And even though what I'm doing is not related to my degree, I don't see it as a loss. I see it as that was a building block. That was a stepping stone. That is how God used me to develop myself in that season of my life. And now I'm in a new season. And so I think it's a beautiful space to ask yourself this question, because it means you're actually on the verge of doing the thing you really are meant to do. And the moment you are walking in your purpose, it means you're going to earn more profit, because you developing yourself into that purpose is exactly what you need to do to unlock higher levels of creativity, higher levels of value within yourself that you put out into the world. And you make more money because of it, because we actually give value and then we get paid for that value. It is an exchange. And so when we're stepping in our purpose and we're actually walking in it and developing ourselves towards it, we always make more money, because it's just very natural for us to serve in that way. And so reimagine how you've been looking at a loss of where you are and a gain of where you're going. Maybe you're seeing it more as a loss that picked the wrong career or you did the wrong thing. But if we see it that way, then we're never going to be able to make steps forward, because we're just going to be looking at the loss. So I encourage you to take a look at what is to gain and see where you are, where you have been in this, current career, as a building block, as a stepping stone, as the development tool that you've had up until now, and that there is more. And honestly, if we are not living, we're dying. And so if we're not making a decision to step forward into our purpose, then we're also deciding that where we are is okay. Being mediocre is okay. Not having the things that we want is okay. Not having resources is okay. And I know that's not okay with you. The only thing that's kind of getting in your way right now is just not being able to see it all in the future. But all you got to really see right now is your next step. And I guarantee you, God has already revealed to you your next step. It is just a matter of you having that courage to step into that next step. And I always tell my clients, get close to the fire. And what I mean by that is take steps to either talk to somebody who is doing what you want to do in the online world, buy programs or courses that are on the lower tier, lower end, so you can start wrapping your head around, okay, what does this take? Watch my YouTube channel so that you start to discover different parts of yourself, because we talk about that here. And get close to the fire. Understand what it is if you're going to step into the entrepreneurial space. And if you're already in the if you're already in the entrepreneurial space, then you might say, I got to take a bigger action than what I've been allowing myself to take. But it doesn't have to be clear. Only thing you need to know is what's right in front of you. It's just like driving. You're never going to be able, I live in Tampa now, and I used to live in Maryland. I'm never going to be able to see where I live in Tampa to my parents' house back home in Maryland. I'm never going to be able to see that. I'm only going to see it as I get in my car and I start driving. And even when I'm driving, I'm only seeing about 200 to 300 feet in front of me anyways. So God has already shined the light on your 200 to 300 feet in front of where you are. That's all that you got to do, because it continues to get revealed to you as you keep going. But right now where you are is just developing the courage. It's the courage to take that action. It's the courage to get closer to the fire, to explore. Go test drive the thing you want to do, whatever that is. Go talk to the person, go buy the course, go and enroll yourself into something that allows you to explore what the online world is like. And if you've got questions, post them in the comments here or find me on Instagram, right? But it's really about you trusting not just yourself, but it's trusting the thread that God has already placed in your life. And when you can trust that, you can see that he's always been guiding you, and you can see that it's actually been designed for you to win. You are just holding yourself back because there's that lack of trust. And there might be some shame and some guilt around the decisions that you've made, but the decisions that you've made brought you here to even have this thought process within your mind that there's more to my channel, to see this video, to hopefully be inspired to go, I can do this. I can take that next step. I can take that action, right? So that is my tidbit for you in this video. I trust that this is helpful, and that honestly, you go out and you go do the thing, whatever that thing is, because we get one life and God wants it to be amazing for us. He already wants to give it to us. We just have to decide that we're going to be obedient and we're going to do the things that he tells us to do, because that's the only way to have an amazing life. So I will see you all in another live. Bye.